Hi everyone, this is Shiraz Ahmad Khan. Viewers, today, because it's our first lecture of Microsoft Excel, so I'll give you a brief introduction of the interface of Microsoft Excel. Before we start, let me tell you a few things about the generic software names and the brand names. As far as Microsoft Word is concerned, the generic name of Microsoft Word is Word Processing Package. Similarly, the generic name of Microsoft Excel is spreadsheet package. Likewise, the generic name of Microsoft PowerPoint is presentation package. Similarly, we have different software packages in the market which are launched by different brands. Like we have Adobe Photoshop, basically it's a graphic package. Similarly, we have Microsoft Access, that is a database package. So the following sequel of video lectures is regarding the spreadsheet package. That is, I mentioned earlier, Microsoft's product, Microsoft Excel. It's part of suite of Microsoft Office. If you install Microsoft Office, by default, it will be installed in Microsoft Office suite. So today's, because it's the very first lecture of Microsoft Excel, so we'll discuss some basics which are part of the interface of Microsoft Excel, and then today we are going to solve the very first task of chapter 20 of the ICT's book endorsed by Cambridge University. Let's start Microsoft Excel. You can have its icon on your desktop, start menu or taskbar, or you can start typing in the search the web and Windows option available onto the taskbar, the word Excel. When you finish typing this, you'll see that on top of this context menu, the search bar, Excel 2013, this icon, it starts appearing. Click this icon to launch Microsoft Excel. The splash screen is appearing. As we saw in our previous video lectures, that in Microsoft Word, we work with documents. Likewise, in Microsoft Excel, we work with workbooks. It actually means that Microsoft Word's file, we should technically call it a document. A document may consist of a single or more than one pages. For Microsoft Excel, we have a workbook with us. So the technical name of an Excel file should be a workbook. In a single workbook, we can have as many sheets as we want depending onto the size of your computer's main memory. So from this list of different workbooks, click the blank workbook. Like for Microsoft Word, we were used to of clicking blank document. So here we have successfully launched an Excel workbook, and the default name that is given to this workbook is Book 1. You can see the title bar of Microsoft Excel. If you closely observe, you can see that there is a crystal clear difference between an Excel's workbook and a Word's document. Excel's workbook, it's basically a combination of rows and columns that we usually call a table, or we can say that matrix of rows and columns is known as a workbook. Like in Microsoft Word, as we saw, we practically observed, we experienced that in a single document we can have many pages. Similarly, in a single workbook, we can have many sheets, and by default, a single sheet is appearing with the name sheet 1. You can add more sheets with the help of this plus cross here. So for the time being, let's focus on the sheet that is by default available to us, sheet 1. An Excel sheet, as I told you earlier, that it's a two-dimensional table that has rows. If you look at this sheet horizontally, the rows are starting from 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. And if you look at this sheet vertically, these are A, B, C, D, and so on, known as columns of the sheet. So this way, by combining these rows and columns, we are calling it a 2D, a two-dimensional table. Word, we saw the cursor started blinking just after clicking inside the document. But in Excel, the scenario is different. If you click somewhere, you won't see cursor. Rather, a bordered cell, it starts appearing around these boxes. Let me tell you that the technical name of these boxes are cells. In order to navigate or to move from one cell to another cell, we have two options with us. You can click on the desired cell with the help of left mouse button, or you can move from one cell to another cell with the help of arrow keys available on the face of your keyboard. You observe that if you press the arrow keys, the bordered box, it starts moving in the same direction. The technical term for this bordered box is cell pointer rather than cursor. We can control the movement of this cell pointer with the help of arrow keys or with the help of mouse. Next thing is, I must say, the very first most important thing to understand the interface of Microsoft Excel is the cell reference. Another name for cell reference is cell address. Let's understand that how the cell references or cell addresses are made. Currently, the pointer or the cell pointer, it's on to cell A1, and you can see its name in the name box for this cell. Basically, every cell of Microsoft Excel, it has its own unique cell address or cell reference. And we can access, and we'll practically experience it, that the contents of a cell, of an individual cell, can be accessed with the help of this cell reference or cell address. So it's worth mentioning here that in order to proceed further, we'll have to understand the cell references, that how they are made and why do we need these cell references. So we have learned so far that every cell of Microsoft Excel, it has its own unique address, and we will use these cell addresses or cell references to access the contents of that particular cell. Now I'm coming to the point that what do we mean by, or what are the possibilities for the contents of individual cell. First of all, let's learn that how can we type anything inside a particular cell. Just highlight the cell with the cell pointer. With the help of arrow keys, you can move your cell pointer to any of the desired cells, and once the cell pointer is moved onto that particular cell, just start typing the value inside the contents of the cell. For example, if I type the value 10 here, I need not to do anything, just place the cell pointer onto that particular cell, that was A1, and I started typing the value straight away without any other action. Once the value is typed, still the cursor is still blinking inside the cell. Once the value is typed, you need to press enter key to move to the next cell. Basically, enter key, it's an indication for Microsoft Excel that we are done with this job. Just after pressing the enter, automatically 10 is moved to the right corner of the cell. Very shortly, I'll tell you that why it's moved to the right corner of the cell. Now I am typing another value inside the cell, and this time I am typing a value that is comprised of alphabets instead of digits. Once again, when you finish typing the value inside it, press the enter key. It's an indication, as I told you earlier, for Excel that we are done with this job. Now, understand the difference between these two different types of things. In cell A1, we have a digit, a numerical value, and in cell A2, we have a value that does not contain any digit. Excel basically differentiates between these two types of values. This is right aligned and Ali is left aligned. The reason is that Excel differentiates, Excel knows that Ali is a textual data and 10, contrary to Ali, it's a numerical value. So by this we learned that by default the numerical values are right aligned inside the cell and the textual data is left aligned inside the cell. So we were discussing that what are the possibilities for the contents of the cell. There are three basic possibilities. Two we are observing here, and third one will be discussed when we'll start task 20A from the book. The two possibilities which we have observed, that a cell may contain a numerical value, a digit, or the contents of the cell are, or it could be a textual value. Before proceeding further, let's learn few more things. We are going to learn how to insert new columns and rows in an existing sheet, or how to remove unnecessary rows and columns from the sheet. Once again, there are different methods of performing these tasks. One method is if you move your mouse pointer over any of the column headers, right click, and you can see we have insert option there. From this context menu that is appearing on the screen, when you click insert option, automatically a new column is inserted before that particular column. Previously, these two values were in A1 and A2, and now after the insertion of a new column before the previous A, now the A, it became B, and we have a new column that has replaced the previous column A. Similarly, in order to insert a new row in between the two existing rows, you need to move your pointer over the row headers, right click, and from the context menu again choose insert option. This time, because we right clicked onto the row header, so this time a new row will be inserted before that selected row. One more thing you might have observed that I'm using the words row header and column headers. Basically these, when you, this ABC, the top row of this sheet, we call them column headers. Similarly, the digits horizontally 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on, these are known as row headers. So we have learned how to insert a new column or how to insert a new row with the help of right clicking and from the context menu choosing insert option. Let me share the shortcut keys to insert new rows or new columns. In order to insert a new row or new column, just click the row header where you want to, before that particular column, you want to insert a new column. Just select the column header and press the shortcut key to insert a new column before this column D, and the shortcut key is Control and plus symbol. Look, just after pressing the shortcut key, a new column is inserted. Similarly, if you want to insert a new row, select the row with the help of row header and press the shortcut key again, the same shortcut key, that is Control plus. Automatically, after pressing this shortcut key, a new row is inserted between the row 2 and 1. Now, the next action is to remove the unnecessary rows or columns. Again, we have two options for it. You can perform these two tasks of deleting or removing a row or a column with the help of mouse or with the help of shortcut key. With the help of mouse, let's see, again right click onto the column header and choose the option from this context menu, delete. Once delete option is chosen, automatically that particular column is removed from the sheet and it's replaced with the column that was previously next to this column. Similarly, you can remove a row by right clicking onto the row header. Observe that the complete row is selected from starting point to the ending point, and again from this context menu choose the delete option. Automatically, after performing this action, the row is removed from the list. Let's see the second method, the shortcut key with the help of keyboard. Select the column by clicking onto the column header, and this time press the shortcut key to delete the column, and the shortcut key is Control and minus. Likewise, select the row header and press Control minus the shortcut key to remove the particular row. So we have learned how to insert a new column or a row with the help of shortcut key, or how to remove a particular row or column with the help of shortcut keys plus with the help of mouse. Now finally I'm going to remove this column A. I selected the column by clicking onto the column header A and pressing the shortcut key, that is Control minus. We have learned very few basic things of Microsoft Excel. So now we are in a position to start the very first task of this chapter. And in your book, the chapter that is relevant with Microsoft Excel, it's chapter number 20. And we are going to start the very first task of this chapter. If we read the statement of the question, it is create a spreadsheet that we have already created to multiply any two numbers together and display the result. So we are required to create a spreadsheet. We have already created that, and we are asked to type two numbers there, and we are asked to multiply the two numbers. So first of all, let's learn how to remove the contents of any of the cells. In Microsoft Word, we observed that in order to remove a single word or a character, we have to press del key or delete key as many times as the number of characters. But in Excel, the things are a bit different. We just need to select that particular cell by clicking onto it and press the del key. Similarly, move the pointer downwards and press the del key. One more interesting thing is there that if you want to replace the contents of any of the cells, for example, if in A1 if you type 10, press enter key, and later on if you realize that the contents are mistakenly typed and you want to replace this value with another value, go backward, go to the previous cell. Once that cell is selected, you need not to make modifications in it by double clicking inside it or by pressing the F2 key. Both of these methods are used to make modifications in the contents of the cell. Look, if you double click inside this, the cursor will start blinking. It shows that now you can modify this value. Once the modifications are done, press the enter key, an indication for Excel that the modifications are done. Similarly, you can place the cell pointer onto that particular cell, press the shortcut key to change the contents or to modify the contents of the cell, and the shortcut key to modify the contents of a particular cell is F2. Once F2 is pressed, the cursor is again started blinking inside the cell, so you can modify this value. And lastly, if you want to completely replace this value with an entirely different and a new value, there is no need to remove this value. Just select the cell with the help of arrow keys or with the help of mouse and straight away start typing the new value. It will automatically replace the previous value with the new value. So now we are going to create a spreadsheet. So now, according to the statement of the task, we are going to create a spreadsheet that will multiply the two numbers together. So let's start this task. Click onto A1 and start typing a reasonable label or caption for this task according to the nature of the task, that is, multiply two numbers. Before we proceed further, let's discuss one more thing. We can see that the contents of the cell A1, they are going outside the width of this column. We have different options with us to increase the width of this particular column. One method is to move the mouse pointer in between the column headers A and B, click left mouse button and drag it rightwards to adjust the width of the cell A1 according to the contents inside it. There is another method of doing this, that is, move the mouse pointer in between the column dividers of A and B and double click this column divider. This is what we call Autofit to contents. It will adjust the width of that particular column according to the contents inside the column. The same way, we can increase or decrease the height of a particular row by moving the mouse pointer in between the two rows. And when we see the row divider, you can double click this to auto fit the height of that particular row according to the height of the maximum height of any value in that particular row. Or you can adjust the height of rows manually by left clicking the mouse onto the column row divider and scroll it downwards or upwards to increase or decrease the height of that particular row. So coming back to our task, we are supposed to enter two values. For example, if we enter 5 in cell A2, 6 in cell A3. Now finally, in cell A4, we want to have the multiplication result of these two numbers which are in the cells A2 and A3. Now before we start learning the formulae, let's discuss the most important thing in this connection, and that is, in Excel, all the formulae, they start from a special symbol. That symbol, it's an indication for Excel that it's not an ordinary value, rather it's a special value, and Excel calls it a formula. And that special symbol is equal symbol. So start your formula with is equal symbol. Now we want to multiply the contents of cell A2 and with the contents of the cell A3, and in order to get the output in cell A4, type the formula this way: A2 multiplication symbol A3. And when the formula is completely typed, finally press the enter key to get the output. Now you see that we have the multiplication result of the two values which are in A2 and A3 in cell A4. Why we have this output in cell A4? The reason is that we entered the formula in cell A4. Now let's discuss the different parts of this formula. You see that we typed the values, the A2 and A3, the two cell references in lowercase, but just after typing the formula, they are automatically converted from lowercase to uppercase. This is something that is by default supported by Microsoft Excel. Secondly, For rest of the values, the things were different. When we entered a numerical value, it was automatically right aligned. When we entered the text or the label, it was automatically left aligned. But in case of a formula, the things are entirely different. In case of formula, after typing the correct formula, we got the output, the result of that formula in that particular cell. And if you move the cell pointer onto that cell where we entered the formula started appearing in a special horizontal bar, and the technical name of this bar is formula bar. The question is that why there is a separate formula bar. The reason is in the future, in the upcoming videos, we'll experiment lengthier formulas as compared to this short multiplication formula. So in order to make modifications, it would be quite easier for us to make modifications in that lengthier formula through the formula bar. One more thing regarding formulas, that in case of formulas that we have two values. The output is in the cell A4 and the formula itself, it's appearing in the formula bar. So that's all for today. Finally, we are going to save this task, although it's not mentioned in the statement of the question, but we are going to save this task as task 20A in the same source files folder for chapter 20, and the shortcut key to save the file is Ctrl S, or you can save the file by clicking the file menu and choosing the save option. Once again, we are asked to save this file. So we are going to save this file in the chapter source files folders of chapter 20, and we are giving the name task 20A for this particular task. So viewers, before leaving, let's recapitulate today's lecture. We learned different things of the interface of Microsoft Excel, which include Autofit to the contents of the cell. We learned how to insert new columns. We learned how to insert new rows. We learned how to delete or remove rows and columns. We learned that we have three different possibilities for the contents of a particular cell. It could be a number, it could be a label or text, or it could be a formula. And the most important thing of today's lecture is that every formula of Microsoft Excel, it always starts from is equal symbol. That's all for today. We'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much for watching. Stay blessed.